We have with us the Chery Tiggo 7 Pro Hybrid. Let's do a review. The Chery Tiggo 7 Pro Hybrid was introduced in the Philippines a few months ago. Unlike its name suggests though, this isn't a full hybrid like what we see in Toyota and GWM vehicles, but a mild hybrid like those from Geely. Anyway, this has an upgraded powertrain as well as a couple of features to set it apart from the regular Tiggo 7 Pro. Are they all worth it? Let's find out. What we have here is the 2024 Chery Tiggo 7 Pro mild hybrid, and it's priced at 1,350,000 Philippine pesos. Design-wise, the Tiggo 7 Pro mild hybrid looks very much like the rest of the Tiggo 7 Pro lineup, with its sleek front fascia characterized by the large Sunshine Galaxy front grille, flanked by full LED headlights. Lower in the bumper are the 4-piece LED DRLs, 2 on each side. Setting this apart from the rest of the Tiggo 7 Pro lineup are the new 18-inch alloy wheels wrapped in GT tires, which I personally like much better. Everything else is the same, such as the power folding mirrors and the wraparound LED taillights at the back. Oh, and in case you missed it, we have a hybrid badge on the back. As to why they market it as a hybrid even if it's not, I don't know. Opening the hands-free power tailgate reveals between 400 to 500 liters of space, which is very competitive for the segment. You also get a cargo cover and a temporary spare tire underneath. And now we're inside the Chery Tiggo 7 Pro mild hybrid, and as you can see here, it looks very much the same as what we already saw in the regular Chery Tiggo 7 Pro. So everything is the same, materials are all the same, the design, nothing has changed here except for the fact that this gets a fully black interior, so we no longer have the red section here on the dashboard. But anyway, again, the design is still the same. It looks really nice. All the lines look very good here. There's a lot of horizontal lines, and the materials all feel very solid. So we have soft touch plastics here on top of the dashboard. We have this leather, stitched leather portion up here, and more of that stitched leather over here, and that all feels really good. It feels very well built. Same here in the door panel, so we have soft touch materials all over. Feels very well built, feels very solid, very good build quality over here. And then for the steering wheel, we have that usual Chery steering wheel that we also see in other Chery models. So we have very thick rim, nice leather material. It's also tilt and telescopic adjustable, so very easy to find your proper driving position, although I feel like it is still a bit too high. And then we have controls here on the left for our cruise control and our instrument cluster. Then on the right for our audio controls and Bluetooth phone. Then for our horn, it's our usual European car horn, which sounds really good. Then speaking of that instrument cluster, that's what's new in this variant of the Tiggo 7 Pro. So now we get a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster. We used to have only a 7-inch. Now it's 12.3-inch, much bigger, and it does show us the same amount of information, not much difference in terms of what it shows, but it is bigger, it looks better, it looks more modern now over here. It also changes color depending on your driving mode. Then here in the center, we still have the same infotainment system. So it's a 10.25-inch touchscreen, and it's very easy to use. It's not the best in terms of how the interface looks, but it is very easy to use. It's very easy to navigate. That's what I like about this screen. And it has both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto available in it. So that all is very easy in this car. And then down here we have our controls for our infotainment system. We have volume controls, we have our on and off button, hazard, and our other controls over here. They're all toggle switches over here and very easy to use. Then moving down, we have our touch sensitive controls for our climate, our aircon, our temperature over here, our fan speed, everything is here. It's not my favorite as well. I prefer actual buttons, but we do have those over here, and thankfully they are very responsive and easy to use, unlike most other touch-sensitive controls. And you can also control them here on the screen. Then here our electronic gear selector. Thankfully, Chery has fixed this one. We complained before that you have to pull twice to go to drive and push twice to go to reverse. But now you can just do all the way the usual way, how it is with other electronic gear selectors. And then next to that, we have our electronic parking brake with auto hold and our wireless phone charger. Then here our controls for our drive mode, so we have that over there. We have our button for our 360 camera, which shows up here in the screen, of course, and it's very HD, it's very clear, it's very accurate actually. One of the best 360 cameras in the industry still. Then we have here our hill descent control button or toggle as well. Two cup holders over here and a little bit of storage, and it is adjustable. And once you move it, you will find another cup holder in the bottom, which is cooled, and some storage. We have these very nice leather seats. They're not the best in terms of thigh support, honestly. That's what's missing in this seat, but the material is really good. The support is actually quite good as well. It's very well bolstered, and it doesn't feel that bad after a long drive, except for the lack of thigh support only. Then the material is also pretty nice. We have again faux leather, and then we have some perforations as well, which do make it feel a bit softer as well. And we also have red stitching and white stitching, which does add a little bit of contrast and makes it look a lot better. Then up here you'll see that we have a panoramic sunroof. And we're now at the back of the Tiggo 7 Pro mild hybrid, and it's pretty comfortable here actually. That's what surprised me. The seats feel pretty good. They're quite supportive as well, just like the front seats, and the material is still the same, of course. Materials that have been downgraded here, however, are the door panels. So this is now hard touch plastics, but we still have that soft leather here in the middle, and this very nice textured plastic over here. Space is also pretty good. It's not as much as what you'd get in something like a Ford Territory, but it's still good as it is. So legroom, knee room, all pretty good. Headroom is also pretty good. And we have again that huge panoramic sunroof, which does bring a lot of light into this cabin, and it does increase our headroom as well, since it does go all the way to the back, thankfully. And the floor is also pretty flat. We have two aircon vents, we have a USB port, some storage, and we have pockets on behind both front seats. Then here in the middle we have a center armrest with two cup holders as well. And now we're driving the Chery Tiggo 7 Pro hybrid, and we've driven the Tiggo 7 Pro before, and this is where this differs the most. So that's because we have, again, like I mentioned, a mild hybrid powertrain under the hood, not a hybrid. So unlike its name suggests, this is powered by a mild hybrid, and that's a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder gasoline engine with a 48 volt battery installed, and that produces 156 horsepower and 230 newton meters of torque paired to a CVT. And it's actually 11 horsepower and 20 newton meters, if I'm not mistaken, more than the regular Tiggo 7 Pro without the mild hybrid system. And you can really feel the difference actually. I remember the Tiggo 7 Pro being quite slow, feeling underpowered, and quite anemic, honestly. And this one doesn't feel that way anymore. So the mild hybrid system does actually improve our driving dynamics by a lot. So put your foot down and the vehicle instantly responds. The CVT is actually tuned really nice. It feels a lot like what you would get from a Honda vehicle, and that's a good thing because Honda does make one of the best CVTs, and that is what this feels like. The acceleration is quite linear, so it doesn't feel like that much of a rubber band effect when you put your foot down, regardless if you're pushing the car really hard or if you're just driving normally inside the city or even when on the highway. And even on the highway, this feels pretty good to drive. Again, doesn't feel underpowered even when you need to overtake. Then the engine also sounds really good, so I'll let you hear that later. The only downside I see though when driving this car is the auto start stop function. So it doesn't always work, and like right now we're coming to a stop and it didn't work. So the engine does remain on, unlike in a Geely vehicle where the battery is able to switch off the vehicle when stopped anytime. And if ever it does switch off, it only stays off for a very short amount of time. And also I have to add that this doesn't seem to have a coasting function. So usually with other mild hybrids that I've driven, the engine switches off when you are coming to a stop, when you are not accelerating, even at highway speeds. But this one, it doesn't do that as well. It only really does the auto start stop function, and at least we do get that extra power, extra torque when driving. And now I'll let you hear that very good sounding engine. So let's put our foot down and you can hear how good that engine actually sounds. I hope you can hear it. It sounds very throaty. It doesn't sound like a small engine at all. It just sounds good, really. Now let's talk about the handling, because that's another good thing about this car. Not the best, but it's quite good in terms of steering feel. So it's a bit weighted. The steering feels a bit weighted. It's not too light and it's not heavy either, but it's light enough for city driving. Very light actually. And that's something that we like about it very much. But what does kinda ruin the driving experience for me is how it handles in general. While the steering is good, the way that the body roll in this car, it just doesn't feel good. That's because the suspension is actually too soft. And that brings us to our ride quality, because it is pretty good, because again we have that soft suspension, so this does absorb bumps really well. It does a very good job of just making the car feel very stable on the road. But the downside again is that bouncy suspension, because other than the body roll, it does have the tendency not to make it feel good for passengers. It doesn't feel the best when you are not driving this car, and that is the trade-off of having a very good ride quality, the way it handles instead. But other than that, visibility is all good. The side mirrors are pretty nicely sized. The windshield is pretty good in front. The back is quite small, but it's fine with me. Doesn't really bother me that much. And then range insulation is also quite good, so road noise isn't too loud. It's there, but it's not bothersome at all. And our wind noise is also non-existent. It's a very quiet cabin, and like I mentioned earlier, this cabin is very well built. Everything here feels solid, and that means there are no unnecessary rattles for the most part. But there is that one rattle that I can hear at the back of the vehicle. I don't know where it's coming from. It's probably just loose items, hopefully, but it is there. I don't know if you heard it anytime here, but it is over there. And let's talk about fuel economy, because that's something that is supposedly improved in this car. I don't remember anymore what we got before when we had the Tiggo 7 Pro mild hybrid, but this time around we're getting pretty good numbers inside the city. So we're able to achieve around 11 kilometers per liter. That's not bad at all. And then on the highway, we were able to achieve not a really good number. We were only able to achieve around 14 kilometers per liter, unfortunately. But still, overall, especially the city driving, that's what's important. It's pretty good in that regard. And now, before we end, let's talk about driver assistance technology, because this doesn't have any of those. So unlike most of its rivals, this doesn't come with any features like adaptive cruise control, autonomous emergency braking. This doesn't get any of those. So you'll have to look for other models such as the Ford Territory. But it is a given, considering the price of this. This is pretty affordable, so that's acceptable. But although I do wish that it at least had autonomous emergency braking, because that would make this vehicle a lot safer. The Chery Tiggo 7 Pro mild hybrid is far from disappointing. Well, yes, it's not a true hybrid like the badge says, but what they do have under the hood is enough for a little more fuel savings and an engaging enough drive. Looks and features wise too, it's really good. Overall, something you should definitely consider.